Literally a couple
Let me
days ago.
take you to 24 hours after one of the authors of that bill. Okay?
Okay.
Here we go.
Every Sunday night during session, I say goodbye to my wife and kids and make the 3-hour trek to St. Paul to fight for our way of life. Because day after day, it is under attack from Metro liberals.
A Minnesota state senator just arrested, accused of soliciting a minor for prostitution. 40-year-old Senator Justin Eichhorn is a Republican representing Grand Rapids. Bloomington police say that detectives posed as a 16-year-old girl and arranged to meet with him in Bloomington. Well, he was arrested after arriving in the area of the meeting spot.
Why you messing my head up? Any night, any day, let me take you away. All I need is just saying yeah.
Gabe said the song is over.
Oh, sorry.
Hello. Welcome to Therapy Rebranded, where we're consistently inconsistent.
Ding, just some more shit he had to cut off. Sorry, I had to get it out one more time. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Okay, start us off.
Yes. So we are back and we are celebrating me passing my licensing exam.
Woo, woo, woo. Tell us about what you're past. Well, it's your licensure.
I am a licensed independent clinical social worker. Which means that I can have my own business. I don't have to have anybody else look at my work. I'm going to get paid closer to what I'm worth. Do we ever get paid what we're worth? Never.
Not in this lifetime.
You can prescribe me fentanyl.
I wish.
I wish we can't prescribe.
I wish we could prescribe.
Just repeating.
Yeah, it was. We actually did a full celebration last time, but somebody broke in and deleted our episode. So
we're suspecting deep state. I have people looking into it.
I thought it was
hoping for the best on that.
I think it was my old roommate.
It definitely was. It was giving that. I didn't want to say
the one that I went to college with, and she probably tried to take her licensing exam and didn't pass it. And she just couldn't stand that I was doing this. It was too much.
People hate to see you succeed.
And do.
Ew, especially when... Never mind.
But so we are... Yeah, we really don't like her, for real. Joke aside. But she got me champagne, so we're sipping. Cheers.
I think I made a toast last time, so now I have to do it over again just to make you doubly uncomfortable.
I mean, you can.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so not only are you my best friend, but you're also like a colleague and somebody like I really respect and look up to as a therapist, as I think you know. And...
Earned it.
No, and did. Putting the time, putting the effort, putting the work, and you're just an incredible therapist. People really don't know. Like, you're brilliant. You're going to do amazing things, and I just am happy to be around.
Cheers.
I echo that.
It's all up from here.
It is.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Great secondhand therapist, too.
Thank you. And on to Reddit. We're just doing one today because there's too much to talk about in the world.
So much in the world, bro. So this is a screenshot of disrespectful, low-effort dates. Wait, you said you're going to be the guy or the girl?
I'm going to be the girl, the black.
Okay. Can you tell me more about it on our date? Smiley face.
When, where are we going and when? LOL.
Let's do a park date this weekend. Saturday, 1 p.m. at Holmby Park. Somebody look up where Holmby Park is. I will bring a picnic blanket and pick us up some deli sandwiches somewhere.
Are you unemployed?
No, I have a job, but work Monday through Friday.
Oh, you might be on a budget, but these low effort dates seem disrespectful. So please don't ever contact me again. Crying laughing.
Probably not a good fit based off of your action. Would not vibe. Hope you find what you're looking for. Exclamation point.
Can I just say that this guy was respectful as
Yeah.
That was such a respectful response to her being a...
Yeah.
He was so nice about it. And then he wrote, the other previous low effort dates I suggested were drinks at a bar, dinner reservation at a fairly nice, trendy restaurant, beach picnic. So I feel like all of these dates are fine.
Yeah. All of them.
Do you think that if he was
just extra
more attractive, that she would have went to the picnic? Like, is there
of course
some kind of disinterest in him? There's got to be, right?
And it's giving she kind of knew that maybe his job isn't up to par with what she would like. And so she's like, oh my God, he's doing some broke. That's what it gives to me.
It also gives you...
but like, it's not. She just wants him to stretch, which is weird.
This gives somebody who doesn't like men.
Yes.
Like, yes, you're sexually attracted to men, but you don't like men. Like, she couldn't wait to shit on a man. She was so excited to shit on a man. And to the point that she jumped the gun. Like, there wasn't anything to shit on.
And it's giving, like, she was trying to, like, catch him so that, like, she could do some shit, like, and post it or whatever. And he was just, like, nice about it.
Totally. you had said something about that the beach picnic, and I'm assuming this picnic was too intimate.
A beach picnic, just for me, this is just me personally, anything on the beach is just no.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I just don't, like, it's not, like, none of it feels like a walk on the beach and that's about it for me. I don't really want to do dinner on the beach. I don't really want to have sex on the beach. Like, it just isn't my thing. But I feel like a picnic, I would go on a picnic on a first date. It just is a little, like, intense. Like, if I'm just, like, if we're meeting off Hinge or if we're, like, getting set up, like, that's, you know, maybe coffee first. But it sounds like she's not, like, a coffee first type of bitch.
No, it's bring me to a steak restaurant.
Which I don't want on a first date. That's really intense for me. Like, I have to look good and, like, I have to look, like, top and, like, whatever. Like, I don't want to do that the first time I meet you.
You also have to be committed to being there for, like, 2 hours.
Exactly.
And if it's not a good vibe, that's a really long time.
And you have to, like, stare at somebody. Like, sometimes, like, a walk or something, you can be, like, peripheral, so you're not, like, face on. I feel like that's kind of nice.
Yeah. So I follow this subreddit. It's called Nice Girls. And basically, it's just men complaining about women. But actually, the screenshots are wild. Like,
Really?
These women are out here just being savage to be savage.
Do you think women are being savage? I get what you're saying, like, being savage just to be savage. Or do you feel like they think that it's their, like, it's a performance of confidence. Like, they think this is what they're supposed to act like. Regardless of, like she, I think, was maybe trying to, like, do.
I think there are women who get mistreated by men and then they're on their guard or attack with the other men that they're dating while they're kind of going through that phase of being angry at men. And it comes out like this.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a lot of women who are really mad at men because multiple men around them or men on the internet or men in the ether are being crappy to them. Like, it's not coming from nothing. But I do think that just medium ugly guys catch a lot of strays.
Fair. I think I sent Javae a screenshot.
You think that's fair?
No, I don't think
ugly guys take it. No. Rachel.
I sent Javae a screenshot of this guy messaging me wanting to take me out on a date. And he was being really nice. Like, there was nothing wrong.
I didn't like what he said.
But I texted her. I was like, am I weird for not liking this? So what's the difference between, like, that and this?
Can I read what he said?
Yeah. You can, yeah.
I'm gonna find it. Because we don't have to say anything about him to say what he said.
This is going to be fucking hilarious.
And he was not good looking enough to be talking like that. I'm really sorry.
He actually wasn't. And he wasn't really my type.
He wasn't.
Just say, beat the street, I'll go.
But I sent it to another friend. She was like, you're being too this. And I was like.
Is that friend desperate to find a man?
My friend has a man, but he's not.
Very nice.
Yeah. And then I sent it to another friend. She was like, he's not nigga enough for you.
I don't see it. Where is it?
Oh, let me find it.
Yeah, you go look. Did you send it to the group chat?
No.
Okay.
Can I say for this while you guys are looking?
Yeah.
In my experience,
what do you think about my theory with medium ugly guys catching strays?
I think that's probably, like, true for sure. But the thing that I see on dating apps that is always funny to me, because I thought we lived in a patriarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at any dating app, it's like the women are like, and if you don't make 6 figures and you're not 6'3", swipe left. Like, there's all these demands where, like, if a guy wrote, like, and if you're over 120 pounds and blah, don't have D cups, get the fuck out of here. That shit wouldn't play. So it's just that the leverage, the power is gone.
I feel like that about height. But that's just.
But I think, like, just like how men have to screen people out, like, God forbid you have to swipe left on somebody.
Yeah.
Like, why are you being an asshole? No, that's what I'm saying. Like, why are you being an asshole on your profile? Just don't match with them.
Because they can. It doesn't affect them.
But
and I think that's what's crazy.
It does affect them because men will fuck them, but they will not be with them.
Yeah. No, so it does show who they are.
Yeah. It shows, like, they're shooting themselves in the foot because men are going into this non-serious about you and also feeling less empathy for you. And, like, you deserve kind of whatever's coming because fuck you, you're a user.
Yes, you're right.
So this is what the guy said. He goes, Rachel, what's your favorite bouquet of flowers and local restaurant? Would love for us to get to know each other over food, wine, and some good conversations. Hopefully we can connect sometime soon.
And I texted this to Javae and said, I said something like, am I weird for just being icked out by this?
I hated it.
No, I hated it too.
It was insincere.
It's totally insincere.
It's so insincere.
That's
why I'm like, you literally just copy and paste that to everybody.
No man really thinks that way. Like, ladies, if you ever get something that's just, like, really if it looks like it could be in a shitty fucking romantic movie, if he's doing that, he's copying it from a shitty romantic movie.
And you don't want that.
Right. He's unoriginal, insincere. he's a gross person.
And also, like...
And so that my point was...
Who can have good conversation? Like, I don't even know if I'm going to like you. You don't even know if I like wine. Also, can we chit-chat? Like, this is fucking weird.
Also, like, how do you, like, we don't... What? That's another thing. Like, I don't like forced romance, I think. Like, don't bring me flowers. And, like, I went out with this guy and like, why are you ordering wine at a bar? Like... Just weird shit. Like, just be normal.
Something to prove.
Something to prove.
So we'll transition to the newest diagnosis named in the DSM-5, Trump Derangement Syndrome.
Ew.
Tell us what it is. For this.
Huh?
I said I'm so excited for this. Hang on one second. I gotta get stuff ready. So you guys talk.
Gabe told us before we started shooting that there was something special he had to tell us that's going to make us happy.
Oh, there's a phenomenal. So
here's how you ruined an alley-oop. So we could have set it up and just known something funny and surprising was coming, but we told the whole audience.
I'm setting it up.
How?
I don't know. Sorry. That's what I thought it is.
You know how like for instance, you will go through Reddit and like you'll go find the most interesting thing that could possibly be said in the Reddit in the comments, and then you want us to chit chat after.
It's because I'm not.
So we just looked at 10 out of 10 commentary, and you want our 3 out of 10 commentary to come after that.
And she literally just said you do this all the time, bro.
I'll be setting up a punchline and she'll beat me. She'll be cutting me off to tell me what it is. Oh, I can guess. I know really the audience is supposed to guess, not you, babes.
I know. I'm so in it. Y'all don't know how like I'm so present. Like, you're like I forget.
Raise his hand.
I know the answer. Sorry, it's not funny. It's actually
I'll be like, guess who knocked? And she'll be like, on the door. Jesus Christ.
It's not funny. It's probably so irritating, but I can it's so me, bro. Oh my God. I'm glad you pointed it out.
I'll be like, guess what we had? And you'll be like,
this person. An idiot.
All right, Javae, can you set it up? And then I have the surprise for you guys.
Okay, great.
So just restate what the story is so we can have
Why doesn't Rachel say the story? Go ahead. Whoever, just like set it up and then I have a clip. Go ahead.
What story?
About Trump Derangement Syndrome.
Oh. Sorry.
Shit, I have you guys switched. I just realized.
What do you mean?
Nothing.
Trump Derangement Syndrome is something that the conservative Republicans, Trumpers, not all Republicans, just a certain faction of them, are trying to pass in Minnesota legislation to make it so that it criminalizes essentially like talking shit about Trump, is my understanding.
I had a totally different understanding, so I'm going to set it up different and see what Gabe thinks.
Okay, yeah.
My understanding is that there has been a bill put into the there has been a bill proposed in Minnesota that would make Trump Derangement Syndrome an actual mental illness that's recognized in the state of Minnesota. And what Trump Derangement Syndrome is a hysterical, paranoid, irrational fixation with Trump that's not based in reality, where you blame him for everything, regardless of the severity.
So that was a few days ago, right?
Right.
Literally.
Let me take you to 24 hours after one of the authors of that bill. Okay?
Okay.
Here we go.
Every Sunday night during session, I say goodbye to my wife and kids and make the 3-hour trek to St. Paul to fight for our way of life. Because day after day, it is under attack from Metro liberals.
A Minnesota state senator just arrested, accused of soliciting a minor for prostitution. 40-year-old Senator Justin Eichhorn is a Republican representing Grand Rapids. Bloomington police say that detectives posed as a 16-year-old girl and arranged to meet with him in Bloomington. Well, he was arrested after arriving in the area of the meeting spot.
Sunday night during session.
That means they were onto his ass.
First of all...
No, he called and he hit it up. You should see the transcript. He knew what the fuck he was doing.
Also, not it being How to Catch a Predator, they set him up.
Oh, yeah.
So basically all that confirms is that he's a bad person.
Yeah.
Well, and how consistent is it whenever people are railing against gay people or railing against, all this kind of shit, the loudest voices... So they're the dudes doing this shit.
Always, every fucking time. And it's always, I'm not saying that there are no Dems that like do shit, but like it's always a fucking Republican, bro. Like,
well, because it's the Republicans who are so vocally anti. queer people.
Yeah, but at least he's anti-trans, you know?
Wait, but this
is not all bad.
So you're right. That is phenomenal news. Not phenomenal news, but it's phenomenal he got caught.
I knew about that story. I did not know that they were connected.
I did not know they were connected.
I knew that there was somebody who had been caught soliciting sex from a child.
Yeah.
But I did not know that that was also somebody who wasted all of our tax dollars on spending the weekend trying to get this bill out because they're upset.
So is the thing kaput now?
I don't know. Why would it be kaput?
That's a good question. I actually have not.
Probably not is what
I don't think it's ever going anywhere, really. It's just one of those things they did for a statement.
I don't know.
No, we're a Democrat-controlled state house, so.
We'll see if it goes anywhere.
It's not going to go anywhere.
What was interesting to you about it?
What was interesting to me about it was, well, one, that's not how diagnoses are kind of recognized, right? So
you can make it through legislation.
Yeah, that's not. So like they don't.
I'm glad you pointed that
out. Diagnoses don't go through a legislative process per se. There is a psychology board who goes through peer-reviewed, which means like research that's been vetted by other people, research, and they have a conversation about this kind of working book that we use. It's called the Diagnostic, or DSM-5. Let's just call it that. So there's been 5 versions of it, and we're on the 5th one right now, and they don't even update it yearly. So it's like very infrequently updated, and it's a very long process to update, and there's tons of drafts, and like it has nothing to do with the United States government as far as I know. Mm-hmm. So this all just feels like showboating. It'd be interesting if the first diagnosis that was ever like created, quote, by like a legislation is Trump derangement syndrome. That would be really interesting, I guess. But
what a way to say that you're like so obsessed with somebody that you want to like immortalize how much other people dislike him.
I don't think that's what's going on.
No, it's not really. I'm just being hateful.
How much they like him, right? That's what you mean. Yeah.
I don't think that's what's going on.
No, it's not really.
Hold on. Well, what do you think's going on?
I think that they're like. So I think that there's we've been talking about, we haven't really actually talked about politics much since Trump's been elected, kind of on purpose, honestly, because it just consumes so much of my private life that I don't really want to do it on here. I like kind of make an effort to not just doom scroll and talk about it. And it feels like, also it just feels like everything are moving pieces right now. Like it almost was like this cycle of him just saying all of these things and then people responding and wasting all of these resources. I don't want to say wasting because they do need to fight the executive orders he's putting in place. But
it feels like a waste.
It feels like a waste, but it's not.
It's not.
Because they can't go, like some of the things that he's said that he wants to go in place would be detrimental to a lot of people. So I get it. And then it's like denied, right? So like we get this big wave of hurt feelings and frustration based on like the things that he says he's going to do. And then we have this big reaction and talk about what if this really happens and this is proof he's racist. And then we kind of come down when it doesn't happen, or we stop talking about it and it does happen. Yeah. And like people are just impacted, right? Like some of the stuff's happening, some of the stuff's not. I don't want to minimize. I just am like trying not to spend every second of every day on the roller coaster of like, what if this actually passes? What if this is actually something that happens? What if this is like, you got to pick your battles a little bit with the amount of things that are just like coming out and talking about it. And honestly feels like a tactic.
It does.
It is. They call it flooding the zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tactic. It's like so much is going wrong. Then you feel helpless. Like there's nothing you can do. It's all going to be bad anyways. So no point in doing anything. Mm-hmm. And I just have to constantly remind myself like the way I'm contributing to society is my job.
Yep.
Like I work with underserved populations. I work with mostly people in poverty. Like I'm helping. Mm-hmm. I work with tons of queer people. Like I'm doing my part. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not going to pretend like I don't think I'm doing enough in like my day-to-day life. I definitely don't, spread information in the way that other people do. And I think it's great that people do that, but I'm doing enough. Like I'm doing enough.
Also just being fucking Black is doing enough. Not, I get it, but like also you give to your like community members, like you are like active in other people's lives. Like that's also doing something. Like even if
I'm a good friend. Yes. Like I've been showing up for people who have been struggling throughout this time, not even really because of politics, just because of life. Yeah. So anyways, I think that there are like traps set up on like the Republican or like the right, I don't even want to say Republican, like the right-wing whiteness side of the culture war. And I'm sure there's traps on both sides, but I've just noticed these that are like set up. And this is like a specific example of like 2 of them.
Okay.
And so it just stands out to me because it's a way to like change the conversation effectively.
Okay.
So what kind of people are saying about Trump derangement syndrome, what people are saying about Trump derangement syndrome is that otherwise normal people are having a strong reaction to Trump. Like, all these people who are sensible are having this really strong and irrational reaction to Trump. And that is proof that they're mentally ill.
It's so out of proportion that there has to be something wrong with them.
Right. And that's a trap because if you react...
Prove it.
Well, no, if you react strongly to things Trump are doing, you lose credibility.
Say that again.
So if you have a huge reaction to Trump, like you're like, he's terrible, he's bad, he could end democracy. I'm really worried about, people being deported. I'm worried about the healthcare system. I'm worried about all of these things. In the framework of Trump derangement system, or like the framework of Trump derangement, you being that worried that the country could collapse
criteria
is proof that you're mentally ill.
Got it. Because somebody wouldn't believe that.
Because that's not really happening.
Yeah.
And so if you have a big response to what's happening, it's proof that you're mentally ill.
It's like they're gaslighting, not like it are.
And so but the issue is that a huge groundswell, strong response is the only way to create real change or pushback. And so you're kind of isolating people by being like, you are at risk of being seen as mentally ill, unwell, less than, if you have a huge reaction to what Trump's doing. If you freak out about how Trump is doing, it's proof that you're unwell.
I love that you said it that way.
And so it's a trap you can't escape because they say otherwise normal people are having a strong reaction. So that also means that your track record goes out the window. So instead of what the reaction would normally be to somebody having a strong reaction is, wow, Javae is really grounded 95% of the time. If she's freaking out, this must be a big deal. Nope, she's mentally ill and it's coming through the cracks. Nope, right? Because I think most people would go off of somebody's track record.
What is that called? Pathologizing? Is that what pathologizing is?
Yes. The other kind of trap, and I've been watching this in the media for before 2016, is that they're using how much somebody focuses or talks about Trump as proof that they're obsessed with Trump and that Trump can do no right in their eyes, right? So if you talk about Trump all the time, then people will say you're obsessed with him, you're paranoid, he can do no right, right? But the flip side of that is the reason why you're talking about Trump all the time is because he does so many things that pull media attention. So it's also all you're consuming. So of course you're going to talk about Trump all the time because it's constantly being talked about. So if you give into that and like talk about what the media is talking about, what right-wingers are talking about, what the world is talking about, then that demonstrates that you're obsessed with Trump and your opinion on him cannot be trusted because you care and think about him far too much. All of those are traps that basically put you in this situation where instead of just freely expressing yourself and fighting for what you believe in, you're on the defensive, thinking about being perceived as hysterical and crazy. And as a woman, there's a lot of connection to hysteria because that is how women have been written off for generations. They literally used to be a diagnosis called hysteria, which was basically like if you had a huge emotional reaction to something your husband did or were fighting against him, he could be molesting your children. If you had a meltdown, a public meltdown because of that, where you screamed at him and threw things at him, you can be locked in a psych ward and not be pulled out until your husband says you can be pulled out, right? And so this notion of like the person who is causing you harm in theory gets to decide whether or not your behavior is appropriate, takes away all of your power. You have no power because the only thing you can do to not be deemed as crazy, obsessed, illegitimate is by not responding to how you're being treated. And so it's a trap. Like there is no way out of the trap.
It's so, the way you like framed all that is so interesting. And I'm glad that you brought it back to like how women have like historically been treated like with hysteria and like, do you feel like with like, you know, they're trying to get it in the DSM. They're trying to make it official.
They're not trying to get in the DSM. That's why
they're trying to make it law.
Interesting.
Sorry,
they're making it law.
You're right.
I don't even know what that would look like.
Right. Yes, that's totally different.
It's totally different.
Well, it's because it criminalizes it, which is interesting to me. Like you're breaking a law then if you do something. I don't know if that's literally what it is, but like to my mind, that's what it makes it seem like is like you can bring in.
The TV's turning off.
You can be.
Oh my God, I'll be right in.
Like something can happen, like more than you
gotta
know.
look at myself.
You can be. It's carceral in some way.
You're saying,
yeah.
So I think the notion that it could be criminalized is really interesting because there's a whole movement against criminalizing mental illness. Like that's seen as a bad thing. So I don't know if that's what's happening or not. But it'd be interesting, like, what if politicians could be deemed mentally ill and then seen as incompetent to serve because they're too focused on Trump? Like, that's something I would be curious about more than, I guess, the average person. I don't know how that would apply to the average person. Because the way that diagnosing works is like we have a list to pick from as therapists of what we can assign somebody, but you still have to be assigned it.
But you don't think they're going to start? They're already coming after like, you know, private citizens. You don't think they'll start looking at people and what they're saying and like.
But a therapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist would have to give you the diagnosis, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's how diagnosing works, is that a licensed practitioner has to give you one. Somebody who has a license that says they know what they're talking about when it comes to mental health is the only person that can put a label of mentally ill on you.
It's interesting because therapists will co-sign. Yeah.
So it's kind of like therapists would have to buy in and use that, and there'd be no value in doing that with clients. The only way I could see it being valuable is political people assigning that to other people who, you know, aren't following the unspoken rules that you have to hide. You have to hold this really fine balance of how much you talk about Trump and push against him. Otherwise, you're seen as crazy. People who won't do that, maybe that could be held to some account. But in reality, I think this is a publicity stunt.
Yes.
I think it's a great
troll.
publicity stunt, and nothing's going to happen. There's no basis for this to.
It's more to just scare people into being quiet.
I think I agree it's trolling.
Yes. Yeah.
But I also think it's
I think you guys are playing into Trump derangement syndrome from talking about this thing for this long because it is a troll. That's how I think of it.
But you saying that isn't you.
But you're believing Trump derangement syndrome by saying that.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like that you're playing into their hands is what I'm saying.
No, I'm not talking about it as playing into their hands because it's giving into their peer pressure of feeling like there's something wrong with you if you talk about it.
Exactly.
Yes. No, for sure. That's what they're trying to stigmatize criticism, which is crazy and it's fucking totalitarian shit, right?
Fascism. Say it. Fascist.
Yeah, I have no problem saying that. It is fascist stuff.
Good.
So yeah.
Just had to check.
No, of course.
Got a temperature check every couple months.
Has he been radicalized?
Just got to check.
Did he start watching Dude Bro podcast? Please tell me now.
Got to find out.
Yeah, no, but
is Andrew Schultz his favorite comedian?
Yeah,
I had my most confusing moment ever when he started dismantling USAID because I read. There's a book about the CIA that I read like 10 years ago. And it was all about how like that was a big part of it is how like corrupt USAID is and how we use that to do all this ugly CIA leveraging and nation building and like a lot of the worst shit that our country does. They hide in that, you know? So it was like when he started doing that, I was like, what? I can't believe he's doing something I love so much. So,
but he's going to do that and privatize it. That's the part that's scary.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the part that's scary is what's replacing this shit. I don't think people are even there yet. Who even knows? They literally think about how much money they're going to waste with all these payouts they gave. And then all the judges said, like, actually, you can't fire all those employees. It's unlawful. So now you just gave them $5,000 to leave.
That judge is
and now you have to rehire them.
I think people need to relax and let him step on his own dick because it's happening.
It is happening.
It really is. Like somebody has.
But also part of the like some of the pushback and some of the things that are happening, like people are having to pay people to sue him. Like they're actually, some people have to sue against this stuff. Like the people who are being directly. So it's like I think the general public and like social media and stuff is like successfully being flooded and feeling like, oh my God, all the time. And just putting their like 5% of their attention on one thing a day and like nobody's making any real progress towards it. But like, our institutions are working really hard to sustain. And like, it's going to be really hard for them to recover, even if they don't close. Shit like the national parks.
Completely.
That's crazy.
I was listening. No, it's saddening for sure. I was listening to this person talk about like the grounding piece for them, which this resonated with me, like, is that none of this is new. It feels new because they're so blatant. They're so fucking blatant with like what they're doing. New. Some of it is, yes.
Some of it's new.
But a lot of it is like tactics that have been used before. He's like bringing up stuff that is like for segregation and all this stuff that has already been done, that like people have already been living through. It doesn't mean that it's not worse than it is now, or that it's not still killing people and impacting people, but like people continue to live through awful governments, which it's not comforting.
Also, Trump derangement system isn't original because people used Bush derangement.
Yes.
So
did they
yes,
really?
Yes.
I don't remember hearing that, but I felt deranged against Bush too.
Yeah.
If you want to feel better, I was doing comedy in Bismarck this last weekend, so lots of like farmers out there, and he is fucking enraged, the farmers. So you had a lot of confused people there who are like,
why are they enraged?
Because a lot of the subsidies, like USAID, had some subsidies built in there, right? And he's just done all this shit.
On most grain bags, it's like USAID.
And then the bigger thing is the illegal aliens. So like a lot of farmers, tons of their laborers.
But they voted for him, and he said he was going to do that. He said he was going to do that.
I mean, imagine all the government employees.
Oh my God.
Imagine how many vets, how many like people who work in these
vets
government things who voted.
If the Dems were smart, they would just go in and like.
That's the problem.
Oh my
God. The Dems aren't smart,
fucking
though.
They're not
awful
smart.
right now.
They're not smart.
That really is the worst part.
Yeah. Bush derangement was coined in 2003.
Right then.
And it's the exact same definition, but with George Bush. So, yeah.
Who's a real live dumbass.
I think that we need Al Franken to come back out and run, because he's someone who can beat up Trump verbally, who can like make him look like a fool. We have no one else.
Al Franken from 20 years ago is going to go.
Al Franken, the brilliant comedy writer? Yes.
I'm not saying that. I'm not, but I'm just like.
But that's what I'm saying. Like in this case, we need someone who can do combat with him. I mean,
it doesn't matter.
We can't seem to produce anyone.
He doesn't care if people verbally spar with him. He doesn't care.
Oh, he cares when he loses.
He does care when he loses.
He cares when he loses. Did you see Putin left him waiting for an hour today? It doesn't make him not do what he wants to do. But I'm saying, like, what is that for us? Like, somebody verbally sparred with him to beat up on him, and then he feels bad and goes and does some more shit. Like, if you make someone look like a fool, it makes them look like a fool. You know what I mean? Like, it does help. People don't care. Like, that's how he got. I think people just was his climb. I think Jon Stewart then. Jon Stewart needs to run against him. Would love that. But he's also like not really. He's too smart to do that. Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure.
To waste his years.
But it'd be great
to do that.
Oh, it'd be great. Imagine him just like talking. Yeah, that'd be great.
Did you guys see that Putin left Trump waiting for an hour today for like a state call?
Of course he did. Of course. And he did.
And then on Russian TV, someone told him he was late for the call, and Putin laughed.
Wow. After he whooped Zelensky in front of Russian media
for being disrespectful.
Putin?
But Putin probably did it on
Russian
purpose.
media was there.
Right.
They did that on purpose.
And that's what I'm saying, though. Yeah. Is like,
so like the U.S. can only do that to the Ukrainian, but we can do that to the U.S.
Yep.
Okay.
Crazy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm still waiting for shit to come out with that. Like, I believe in my heart that there's,
I think
that they have compromat on him.
I think he's losing.
They have what?
Compromat, like that they have something on him, but like he got a bunch of money from Russian banks for free or without interest and stuff back in the day. So I think he's an asset and been an asset.
Really?
Yeah, for real.
A lot of people think that, like, I mean,
wow, I'm surprised that you think that.
Oh yeah, look at his behavior. It's the only person he kowtows to like that. It's odd.
He's also like mini Putin. He does the same thing in his fucking country. He doesn't like. It just
Putin's way
he
better
does like
at being
dictators,
Putin.
But
Putin's the original Putin. But Zelensky's like people are gonna. But he's also like is like ethnic cleansing. Doing all
Putin's not the original Putin. He was set up in a dictator state before that.
No, I'm not saying that. I just mean like he's Putin. Like
he's Putin.
Exactly.
He's definitely Putin. I don't know.
He's not the first dictator.
But I mean he's done.
No, I mean he's
things.
not. I mean, he's not even
the blueprint. He's
not even the Russian blueprint, is what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah.
But he's doing it his own way for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, you could make an argument that he's the first like Democrat, where he's done it in this modern age, kind of. But yeah, I get you. Yeah, I just think this was a crazy flex to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a state call. Like usually those are set up. You have
Trump
like
is
16.
trying to do the flexes like Putin, and he can't. You can't do it like him. He's
trying to flex with the tariffs.
I think he does with the other people. I mean, that stupid handshake.
Stupid.
That idiotic, clumsy looking, weird that you feel powerful by pulling someone close to you. Like,
that's not weird at all.
It's so bizarre.
That's not creepy. Not at all.
Do that to the wrong guy.
So we want to end on a really, really light topic, which is physician-assisted suicide and euthanasia for mentally ill people in the Netherlands. Why don't you set it up by talking about this Instagrammer?
Yeah. So this is a person who I came across, I don't know, a year or two ago, who I started following because of his art. He's like a sculptor. He was a sculptist and doing like visual.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Well, it's really loud. So I'm sorry about that.
It's super loud.
It's super loud. I'm sorry.
What is that name? Yeah.
Oh.
It's my clock.
It's going. And he is a
I know we went an hour, so anyways.
He's a visual artist, and I just was following him for that. And he's also someone diagnosed with bipolar 2. And
is it bipolar 2?
Sorry, bipolar 1.
Bipolar 1.
Because he wants to
pause.
What is the difference?
I was going to say, bipolar 1 means that you have full-blown manic episodes. Bipolar 2 means that you have hypomania, which is like a smaller version. So manic episodes are essentially you get into basically a psychotic state in which you're very impulsive. Your mood is very high. It's like if you did coke for 3 days without a crash.
I know someone like that.
Yeah.
I know someone like that.
Yeah. It's like if you did coke for 3 days in a row without a crash, you're like awake. You start to get a little paranoid. Everyone responds differently to mania, but a lot of people, I mean, I think one of the worst things about mania is that a lot of people make life-destroying decisions while they're manic, right? Because they do things that they wouldn't do if they felt fully themselves, like, max out their credit card on clothes or get married.
Or be violent? Like, is it like that?
Depending.
It's kind of like decision making more.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more
extreme decisions.
Yeah, extreme impulsive decisions. Drug use often goes with it.
Sex.
A lot of sex. Just these kind of self-destructive, impulsive behaviors. It's like literally being euphoric for days.
Yeah.
It's like if you thought you could conquer the world.
And then you crash.
And then
someone like that.
Or you become, you crash, but you become very depressed.
And then you get like very depressed. Like bipolar depression is worse than most depression most people have experienced in their life. It's
and most people don't know a lot of people generally commit suicide or complete suicide when they're manic, not when they're depressed.
They do when there is a type of bipolar where there's a mixed presentation. So you're depressed with energy. So imagine feeling the worst you ever felt, but you have the energy to end your life.
And that's what
happens. So that doesn't happen for everybody, but people who are manic often get in this state. And so what the goal of how to manage bipolar 1 is medication, no substance use,
low stress,
regular sleep routine, eating properly, working out. It actually takes tons of work to manage bipolar properly. Yeah. And there are tons of people who never get their medication right. And so they maybe have found a medication that doesn't make them manic anymore. So they're not having these impulsive runs. Like imagine being married and loving the shit out of your partner. And then you go into a manic episode and you cheat on them 15 times in a weekend.
And there's no foresight. There's no inhibition.
And then you come out of it and now you have to live with that. You cheat on them 15 times that weekend.
What a fucking nightmare.
Right?
I mean, for everybody.
Yes. And so, and that's just like, an example. But
how common would you say that is? Like, I mean, is that, I don't know.
How common is bipolar?
Like that kind of, like that extreme of people who have bipolar disorder. Is that like 2% of them, or is that
of people who have bipolar 1?
Yeah, where they're capable of that. Okay,
that are capable of that.
Well, I'm saying where it's likely to happen. I don't know. I guess like how common is it? Sure,
half.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah, because
I don't get the question for some reason.
He's asking like.
I'm just saying if you date someone who's bipolar,
is everyone's mania who has bipolar that level.
Or is it a spectrum?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And I know it's a spectrum, but yeah.
No, but
it's kind of a spectrum.
Really?
The spectrum is how easily you're thrown into mania.
Yeah.
So everybody has a different threshold for what makes them manic when they're bipolar and like what works for them or doesn't. So,
but once you're manic, you're manic.
The hardest thing about treating someone with bipolar is convincing them they have bipolar.
Yes, that's what everybody says.
That is the hardest part of treating someone who's bipolar is convincing them they have bipolar and that their brain works differently. It's not that different to somebody who's like very addicted to a drug, right? Like how do you, because imagine you could take this medication that makes you kind of numb, or a couple times a year you could have the high of your life. What are you choosing?
And a lot of people are choosing that.
A lot of people are choosing that and saying and telling themselves, I don't have bipolar.
Especially
I just have a lot of energy. I don't have bipolar. I just feel. And
a lot of people connect it to feeling, more artistic or more free flowing. And I don't know if that's true.
A lot of artists are bipolar. No, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Because like you get into, I don't know. I mean, as an artist,
you
Gabe, you probably
you feel sorry.
Oh
sorry.
no!
As an artist, Gabe, you probably get it. Another thing I hate is when I give you a softball and then you give it back to me and are like, please explain it, and then cut me off the whole time.
I know it's just
because you have excited,
but I do want to hear you. I know. Go.
But like. That kind of line between crazy and not crazy, you like write it when you're manic. So like you get the best art.
Oh, like 100%. And I can relate to that with quitting drugs and stuff. Like, I don't want to lose this part of my brain. Like, I'm fucked up, but
but I create differently when I'm in this space.
Yes.
Does schizophrenia work the same way? No. I feel like a lot of media portrayals show like people who are super artistic being schizophrenic or schizoaffective, and like that's like how they do a lot of their art. But that might just be a media portrayal.
That's a different version of having psychosis. That's totally different.
Yes.
But just for people who are listening.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
So he even said, I read this guy, Joseph. His name's Joseph. He's 29. I read some of his stuff on Instagram, and he was saying it took him 5 years to accept his diagnosis.
I bet.
So it's really, really hard to accept because it's not like people who are in mania are lying. They believe it. So it's really hard to be like, like when I'm talking to somebody who's manic, like I'm never like, that's not true. Because there's literally no point. It's like everything in your brain and body is telling you that how you feel and what you believe is true. And some of the things that can get risky when you ask about being violent is if like your mania aligns with being paranoid, which is not everybody. Mm-hmm. But if you feel paranoid while you're manic, then that puts you at risk, right? Because if you think somebody's stalking you, you might attack them. Mm-hmm. So like those kinds of things, right? And not everybody who gets manic gets hypersexual. But I just was like an example. Imagine, like you're married and you guys have a shared bank account and your wife took $15,000 to go shopping that weekend. Imagine you were manic and quit your job, but you have kids because you were super convinced you could start your own business and be successful and be a millionaire. There's people who have mania that think they're talking to God, and they really think that. They really in their heart think God's telling them something.
And they think that they're doing something positive generally. Like they might think that, I'm helping my family. I'm doing this business for my family. This is whatever. And it's you can't convince them differently, really.
Not really.
You guys are making it sound like the most tragic fucking illness to have.
No, it is. No, it is tragic.
You think it actually, for real, for your kids or whatever, would this be one of your nightmare scenarios?
It would be this or schizophrenia. These are my top two.
Okay.
This or schizophrenia are my top two. Bipolar's in my top two. Yeah.
Wow.
You have to be really
because then
dedicated.
Imagine you do all of that and then you have to live in the reality of who you are, but with like no happy hormones. So you know how like when people do drugs that create a high, like shrooms, right? Mm-hmm. You're borrowing from tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So like whenever you're done being high from that thing, you're going to be sad.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
So imagine that times 100. You borrowed all of the happy chemicals in your body for days. You literally
I've done that. Yeah.
taken all of it. You want to die when you're done. Like there's nothing there. There is no like pretending or pushing through. Mm-hmm. So the best thing that can happen is you can find a medication regimen that doesn't send you into mania and keeps you out of depression.
So that you don't have to use up all your dopamine and all that.
Right. But often what happens is people find a medication that keeps them on a mania but does not help with their depression.
Yeah.
So they don't have those, and maybe they're not as depressed as they could be, but they still live with depression. Mm-hmm. And like, also there's this kind of sad and like hard thing of like, you could, have bipolar and not know it, get pregnant, and now it's like triggered, right? Yep. Like there's so many hormonal things that can change your mood that it really is rolling the dice. Like it is one of the hardest, like working with kids who get their first bipolar diagnosis is sickening.
I bet.
Going to family therapy and talking to somebody about their kid being bipolar is sad. And the parents' biggest fear, because I said most people are in denial for the first couple of years, is like, oh shit, I have a 17-year-old. What's going to happen when they're 18 and I can't make them take medication? Mm-hmm. Like, what are we going to do?
And that's the reality for a lot of people is like, it's the medication piece that feels so tricky to figure out.
It is really tricky, and it's super frustrating. And, it's a constant battle. And also, like, it sucks to be 19 and told you can never use substances again. Like, you're not going to believe that. You're going to be like every other 19-year-old and try to smoke weed and see how it goes.
I can't be that different.
Try to drink and see how it goes.
Yeah, trying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just at a party with someone, a friend, and their boyfriend has been not drinking for a long time, and it's a very positive thing.
Yeah.
And when I walked up, he goes, having my first drink in 200 days. Cheers. Ooh. And it was truly just like oh, fuck.
That's gutting.
And sure enough, you just the night,
wasted.
You just see it it's terrible.
Yeah, you just see the night tank.
Just terrible. Yeah. Like what a horrible decision.
What were your first like feelings and thoughts and when you like saw his page and were like reading his story?
Okay. Stuff? Yeah. So this guy, Joseph, so he moved to the Netherlands to apply to for physician-assisted suicide. So I learned the difference when I was doing research for this conversation between euthanasia and physician-assisted suicide.
Okay.
So euthanasia is the doctor's in the room and actively injects the thing that kills you. Physician-assisted suicide is he gives you the medication to take and kill yourself.
Oh.
And that's what's like you can do only in like Oregon and stuff. And some
for here in the US?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is some physician-assisted suicide in the U.S., but I believe you have to have a terminal physical illness.
Got it.
There is no killing yourself over mental health here. So the first place that let you kill yourself over your mental health is the Netherlands. That's been going on since 1994.
They said that's a little hearsay-ish. We don't know.
So she told me about this guy who has this page where he is like, and you told me literally like this. You were like, I like him. Yeah. But I feel kind of skeptical because he's making money off of sharing his mental illness. So I don't know. Right.
And it was just so, I had never experienced somebody so forward about it, I think. Yeah. So it was also like, okay. And like, I'm on board with physician-assisted suicide. And it wasn't about any of that.
You are?
Yeah, I am, I think. Like, okay. I don't mind.
For mental illness?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I think when people get to,
at 29.
But that's some of the stuff that came in for me was age, was support system, was how public. And I think I had to check myself about the public piece because people get to share their story, but it just...
So basically what's happening is he has this Instagram account. His name is Joseph Awuah-Darko. Sorry if I said it wrong. He's 29. He has this Instagram account. Before, at some point, this Instagram account was about him being an artist. Mm-hmm. And then it became about him sharing that he's moving to the Netherlands to apply for assisted suicide because he has bipolar disorder. And he kind of explains, like, I don't want to die illegally because it is illegal to kill yourself. Mm-hmm. I don't want anybody to find me. Like, I want to be able to celebrate. I want to be able to do all of these things. And he shared this and got like a huge reaction and following. Mm-hmm. You know, like half of the page comments are hate. Like, you're weak. You're a wimp. I can't believe you want to kill yourself or bipolar. And then the other half are like, you're super brave. Mm-hmm. So he's going through this process and we don't know what's going to happen. But because his stuff got so much attention, he was offered to do this project. I think it's going to be a book called The Last Supper Project, where he has all of these dinners. They're like a culmination of his last dinners.
But I guess his publishers, he's frustrated with his publishers because they won't put it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it has a culmination of all these dinners, and he's having them with different people, and there's like all these rules to the dinner, but it's kind of like all of these last suppers with people who are either supporting him in what he's doing or also mentally ill themselves and all of these things. So he has this huge following around it. And he just talks about how he calls it treatment-resistant bipolar. So the assumption with that is that he's tried all of these different methodologies to manage his cycling of moods, and none of them have worked. And so he is constantly miserable is kind of the take on all of this. Also, what happens, I think, for a lot of people who are bipolar is that I think it also colors the lens of how people see you.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's also a lot of judgment towards him and maybe his ability to
function and make decisions based from people on the internet.
Totally.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really interesting, and Rachel and I were talking about this, is like, it'll be interesting if he gets denied or doesn't kill himself, because I could see the reaction being like, all of this was for attention and we hate you. So when I went through his page, I rarely say this about anybody. Mm-hmm. It all came across as authentic. I read none of it as inauthentic.
And that's the hard part, is he's really bearing his soul.
It's really good.
It's really good. And he's being, it's really good.
What
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to check.
Hold on. You said something today, though, that gave me pause. Javae was giving me like a statistic about how many people get let through. What did you say?
Well, let's talk about that next. So this guy who moved to the Netherlands made me be like, I want to do some more research about this to have like an actual conversation that makes sense. So I looked into like, what are the criteria if you're a doctor for like approving physician-assisted suicide for mental health in the Netherlands? And there are like 6 criteria that you have to do. So one is you have to be satisfied that the patient's request is voluntary and well considered, which transfer that to layman's terms basically means that you have to believe that the patient wants this themselves or not being pressured into doing this, and that they've wanted it for a while. Second, be satisfied that the patient's suffering is unbearable with no prospect of improvement. I think that's pretty straightforward. I think the hardest part of that is with no prospect of improvement, because there could be argument of like, what could treatment improve it, right? We don't know. 3, have informed the patient about his situation and his prognosis. So basically making sure that they have a full understanding of their diagnosis and the possibilities that can come with having this diagnosis, good and bad.
It's interesting they don't have any time length on here.
Yeah. 4, have come to the conclusion together with the patient that there is no reasonable alternative in the patient's situation.
Wow.
5, have consulted at least one other independent physician who must see the patient and give a written opinion on whether the due care criteria set out have been fulfilled. So you have to go to a colleague, or they have to go to somebody else who agrees with you.
Which is a lot.
Who could be so depressed and have the energy to go through all that criteria?
Right. 6, have exercised due medical care and attention in terminating the patient's life and assisting in the patient's suicide. So if you think a patient meets all this criteria and then you go through with helping them kill themselves, whether that be giving them medication or doing euthanasia, then you have to go in front of a review board in the Netherlands. And let's do it at the end. Go through a review board in the Netherlands, and then they get to decide if you did it right. And you can be like in trouble basically for not doing it right. So also that kind of, I feel like, deters probably a lot of physicians from even doing it.
And you have to believe in suicide.
You do.
And a lot of people don't believe in suicide.
Yeah.
There's no way this guy gets approved.
So what I was talking about with her is that I looked up on a government website for the Netherlands, some kind of statistics around like who is asking to be killed and like how often does it go through. And so it says that 90% of them don't happen.
So that to me, the statistic makes sense to me. I need to be checked on this, I think, because applying for something that has a 90% deny rate, do you really think you're going to get it?
I don't know.
Is that a fucked up question to like that? My skeptic kind of is like,
I think this is bullshit.
Say more.
I think that okay, I've been depressed. I've been like, okay, to me, the worst part of being a comedian is a fucking promotion.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's a fucking promotion machine.
Mm-hmm.
No? I think he is. Like, it's
a good way to get people to look at your art objectively. But
the only art of his I feel touched by is him talking about this. Like, I'm not into his art.
And he deleted a bunch of art off his page, actually. Yeah. So it starts with his suicide journey.
If your suicide is that hopeless, like, I don't know. There's just something inherently odd that doesn't connect with me about wanting attention. Even if it's for a good cause.
I think I thought that too. And the way he conceptualizes it is, even though I want to die, it doesn't mean I don't deserve community. It doesn't mean I don't deserve connection and love. And that is true.
I don't think anyone would say that that's not true.
But I think that people who see him seeking out connection and love are like, oh, see, doesn't this make you feel so full? Doesn't this make you feel so amazing? Don't you want to live for this?
Also, people are saying that, and I think that that's naive a little bit.
Yes.
But I also think that there is some reality to having millions of people show up for you and making it feel like maybe your life's worthwhile.
Which he does say, actually. He is open about saying, like, I do wrestle with, I'm feeling this amount of love and connection. Do I still want to go through with this? So I do appreciate him being like, I falter on the idea.
He's going to want to kill himself after this because when the party's over, the attention, like, that's so
Well, that's
horrible,
what I said. Like, if he can't go through with this, the way people are going to treat him.
He should get off the internet.
The way people are going to treat him if he gets denied.
Like, he has.
My God. It's going to go. Right. Everyone's going to be like, well, and actually a lot of people are commenting, why don't you just kill yourself? Like, I don't understand why you need to do all this. Just kill yourself.
Somebody was like, why don't you drink pills? Why don't you eat pills? Why are you eating like a croissant? And he was like, people are really mad at what he posed.
Like, people who really want to kill themselves. Like, you know what I mean?
But he does get a lot of perks from, like, he gets, Scissor wrote him and he got free tickets. And that's all, like, it's,
I usually don't fall into bullshit. I truly find him to be authentic. And I think every artist has attention seeking in them.
That's fair.
Yeah. Like, this one does not hit with me. I think it's.
I think it's bullshit.
I mean, he's really miserable, and then that he's really like all these things. I just think that.
I like that you said that though.
Like, fundamentally, at the bottom of it, it's I don't know. Just the people I've known in my life who kill themselves.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think you're a bad person for thinking. Like, anybody who's putting their struggle on the internet, I think it puts themselves out for fair game to be questioned as genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, I think it's fair game once you're profiting off of your trauma for people to question why you're sharing.
Isn't the whole thing of depression like depression equals isolation?
Yeah, but you have to remember that he's bipolar, so he's going through these highs too, where he feels like he's on top of the world and like doing all of this shit.
It's also something he enjoys, which is fair. Like but
like the energy thing's not legit because like he probably has days where he makes all of his posts and is very excited and thinks he's the best thing that ever happened. So like it's also that, but I think
it depends which one you're talking.
I also think that
that's DID.
I also think that him making his case a statement is making it more likely he'll get denied.
I literally agree too.
Like him doing this as a statement.
Well, just reading his criteria, just like suffering is unbearable with no prospect of improvement.
I know they're not going to believe it because you're not, they want you to languish, which is fucked.
We see you having some fun or some enjoyment on your social media. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like there are people who have it way worse.
I think if people really want to die, they should be able to die.
I also
not
agree
at 29.
with that.
Not at 29.
It's young. I don't think you know enough about life. I don't think I know about life now, but like I don't know, bro. Maybe that shit sucks.
So 40 you should be able to.
I agree. I actually agree. And I actually
I'd say that's the age where I actually
say that to my patients. I'm like, I say to them, like, truthfully, like you haven't gotten to have a go at life with you in charge. And I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
To not try to live your life with you in charge.
Yeah.
Like literally you hate your family, you hate your life. Like you're doing yourself a disservice by like not giving yourself a shot after 25.
This might be so stupid, so I'm sorry if it is, but is bipolar genetic or is it? Okay.
Yes.
Down the father's line, supposedly.
I don't know.
Does it get amplified, though, from trauma or something like that? Or what?
I think any kind of major stress can exacerbate it or bring something to the table that was in the genetic background.
And he does have a traumatic background.
Like there's people who, have schizophrenia or maybe were going to have schizophrenia at 20, but got it at 12 because they were molested for 3 years, And so
it's like a trait.
That sets you up in a really bad way because if you got it at 20, you had a lot more brain development before you had a disease that started eating at your brain.
That literally eats your brain.
So it's not great that you had brain eating starting at 12. You're probably not going to be, you're probably not going to be in the space that you need to be in. So I thought that this was interesting. So most 60% of the people requesting this have had more than 10 years of treatment history. The average age of applicants is 50 years old.
Yeah.
60% of the applicants were women. 70% were single. Yo, if my husband applies for assisted suicide, I'm pissed.
I'll kill you right now.
76%. Oh, I don't want to read that.
What?
Had lower secondary education level.
That makes me sad.
Yeah, I didn't like that. 88% were receiving benefits. It does. It means they were poor.
But it makes sense.
Actually, it goes against Joseph's case, though. Because it's like, well, you have so much more access to things.
That is kind of my point. Don't you have and I'm not, but what is that? TMS kind of there's very extreme things. And he's been posting recently about, I've never done trauma work. He's looking for a PTSD therapist. So I'm kind of like,
they're going to deny him.
Because you haven't exhausted it.
So I just want to end on this. So the most common main diagnosis was depression, 35%. The second most common diagnosis to apply was cluster B personality disorder and then PTSD.
Which just sounds like he's...
What is cluster B?
That's like a personality disorder. Borderline personality.
Sorry, that sounds bad.
What?
Borderline personality.
Oh, I mean, what did Rachel say?
The ick. Oh. That's what therapists say. In private. That's terrible.
It's horrible.
And then, so of people who applied, 20% withdrew their request and 68% were rejected.
Wow.
And people with personality disorders were rejected the most. And let's see. Yep, that's about it. Oh, and then the majority of people who were granted were over 50.
Also makes sense.
This sounds like actually
gave
a really
it a real
responsible way to approach it.
Yeah, gave it a real go.
He's going to get denied for sure.
I think so. No, you know what? You guys really did open up a real possibility in my mind is that he could be doing all of this knowing he's going to get denied for attention.
And it only occurred to me as soon as you said the 90% thing, actually. I was like, oh...
Not great.
Not great.
So the last thing that we wanted to touch on, which you can do in literally 5 minutes, is that
sorry, I'm so petty.
He slept with his psychiatrist and posted it online about it.
I want Gabe's initial reaction to that.
What?
He's a gay man. I don't know if he's bisexual or gay, but he slept with a man.
Gay. Yeah.
He slept with a man, and his psychiatrist is married to a woman.
Oh my I don't even know who's more fucked up in this equation.
The psychiatrist. Not even close.
The psychiatrist, right. Not even close. Do you think he would do that during a manic episode or that and the psychiatrist took advantage?
No.
What a fascinating...
I don't think a psychiatrist would hang out with someone. I don't know why a psychiatrist was hanging out with a patient outside of hours. Because that was basically the story he told us, that him and a psychiatrist had dinner and then he slept with his psychiatrist. So the door was open from the second they had dinner. That crossed an inappropriate boundary. He went to a psychiatrist's home. The wife was out of town.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
And beat cheeks. And then... Sorry, that's an inside joke with Rachel and I. That's an inside joke, sorry.
Bust his cheeks is prison term. But,
a grown man said that to Rachel, so...
we didn't talk about that last part. We can talk about it next time.
Yeah, he said I'd beat cheeks, though.
After telling me I talk too much.
He's 39 years old. Told Rachel she talks too much. That's why he doesn't like her. But he'd fuck her by beating
verbatim,
cheeks.
Verbatim.
Yeah.
I didn't change it.
You talk too much, but I'd beat cheeks.
In that order.
Yes.
I think that would be, as your friend said, N-word enough for you.
That was a good one, Gabe.
Thank you.
And he does talk about how he has basically puts himself in toxic situations on purpose and punishes himself and makes his life shitty. He acknowledges and talks about that, which is all its own conundrum, right?
A drama queen. He's just a fucking drama queen.
See, I think he's really suffering. I think he's
too.
really suffering. I think he's really going through it. I think what Javae said really like cut through it. I feel like is artists in general like a little bit of attention.
A little bit.
A lot of it.
I think he's such a fucking drama queen that, he is miserable because he's such a fucking drama queen.
Which is really interesting for you to say that because at the beginning when I was telling you about bipolar, you were taken aback by how painful and horrible it is.
Very much.
And he still has it. So does that add any context for you to go back to feeling like that?
So, okay, I've known people with bipolar disorder. I've dated people with bipolar disorder unwittingly.
Fun.
At first, yeah. But
was it being treated?
What's that?
Was it being treated?
I didn't. It was addressed as if it was a diagnosis the person got a long time ago.
Oh,
and then it hasn't been an issue, sort of.
So they're lying.
And I couldn't see. Like, I mean,
maybe they never had it.
It took a year to even notice it. But I was ignorant to what it is and what it looks like.
Yeah.
And basically, but it's funny. I do remember when I found out about it. I Googled around on it.
Mm-hmm.
And how many comment boards I found where, because, you write dating someone with bipolar disorder, blah, blah, blah. Every comment board is let me do you a favor right now. Run away. Don't walk. Don't look back. I just saved you years of heartache.
I know one person, who is in a relationship who has had bipolar disorder they've been diagnosed for about 7 years. And they are so on about medication, but they definitely they feel dulled.
Yeah.
But they're also a physician and so they just know how important it is. But that's the reason I'm stable is because I just and they don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't do anything. They're very on it, but that's about.
Would either of you date someone who had bipolar disorder? If you learn that, let's say you learn after 6 months, do you stop and break up?
That's not long enough. That's not long enough.
No, I think with what you guys see for sure, right?
I think
a year. Not long enough, almost.
I would leave someone after 5 years. Did they get diagnosed or they hit it?
Oh,
did they get diagnosed 5? Oh,
they hit it. It's a diagnosis from 8 years ago. We'll say.
Nope.
Okay. And did leave someone after 5 years.
Nope. I'm good.
Too.
I'm good. Yeah. No, I'm good. I wouldn't date somebody sober, who's 100% sober. I wouldn't date somebody who has bipolar. I wouldn't date somebody who has schizophrenia.
Yeah.
What about a small dick?
No. No. I had BDE, so I can't do that.
How about someone who's been in prison?
No.
Yes.
How long?
They did a year.
No.
A year I would do. And it depends at what age and how old they are now.
There's only 2020 for
That's because your daddy went to jail. That's because your daddy went to jail.
I know. It's so bad.
And on that note, thanks for joining us for this light and happy episode.
Bye, guys. See you next week.
Don't lie to these people. We ain't been doing weekly for months.
See you soon.
Bye.
Shit, I'm trying to find your music.
Where
I'll have to put it in the post.
are you?
Yeah, thank you. Keep going.
We were doing better.
Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? It's the end of the weekend.
NBC. No relation to NBC.